All right, let's dig in, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are looking into something everyone's feeling right now.
Literally feeling it.
Yeah, in their wallets, right?
Absolutely.
It's the rising cost of food.
Yep.
And, it's not just about emptying our wallets faster. It's causing a bit of a political food fight, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we've got a ton of notes to go through.
Yeah.
And a really interesting article from Daily Costs
Okay.
to kind of guide this deep dive. So that's a left-leaning political blog, just so everyone knows.
Right.
But to set the stage a little bit,
Yeah.
Food prices are way up. Obviously, that's what we're talking about it,
Right.
affecting all of us every time we go to the store.
Mm-hmm.
And Democrats, they're pointing the finger right at President Trump, saying he broke his campaign promises about bringing costs down.
Right.
Remember those cheap eggs everyone was talking about?
Yeah.
Seems like ages ago.
I know those days might be gone.
Yeah, they might be over.
Well, and what's interesting is if you think back to the 2024 election,
Yeah.
the economy was the top issue for so many voters.
Of course.
Food prices were a huge part of that.
For sure.
And Trump really leaned into that, right? Making America affordable again was like his slogan.
Oh, yeah, I remember those rallies. Affordable again.
Exactly.
Everyone chanting.
And he even specifically called out those high food prices as a problem.
Yeah, she did.
So there was this expectation that he would tackle that right away.
Okay, so then what happened?
Well, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
The first week of his presidency, there was a lot of action. Don't get me wrong.
Sure, Immigration Pardons Agency, shakeups.
All that, but nothing concrete on food costs.
Yeah, it seemed like the grocery bill was kind of on the back burner.
Yeah, and the Daily Kot's article, they really highlight this.
Interesting.
They point out that Trump did issue an executive order on pricing.
He did.
But when it came to food, it was super vague, just the barest mention, almost like an afterthought.
Huh. So much for decisive action.
Right. And, this was a big letdown for a lot of people who were expecting him to hit the ground running on this issue.
Absolutely. So not exactly the full grocery list of solutions folks were hoping for.
Definitely not.
But that's where the Democrats enter the picture, right? They're
Yeah.
not just sitting back watching this happen.
Oh, absolutely not. They're fired up about this.
Yeah.
19 congressional Democrats.
Huh?
They sent this letter to Trump demanding action on those rising food prices.
Wow, 19. It's a pretty clear message.
It is. And they didn't just complain, they actually offered some solutions.
Okay, so what were they suggesting?
They put forward a 6-point plan with specific measures the White House could take.
A 6-point plan. All right, let's break that down a little.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Okay, so 2 of the proposals really jump out at me.
Okay.
First, they're calling for a ban on price gouging during crises.
Right.
Like a pandemic when supply chains get all messed up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an open invitation for some to take advantage.
Right. It creates those opportunities.
Exactly. So are the Democrats basically saying that it's not just inflation driving these prices up?
I think that's a big part of their argument. They're saying that corporate greed is playing a role, too.
Interesting.
That some companies are using these situations to jack up prices.
Okay, and the second proposal, it seems like that's aimed right at this corporate greed.
For sure.
They want to empower the FTC and the Department of Agriculture to go after what they're calling monopoly practices in the food industry.
Right. So it's important to understand what they mean by monopoly practices.
Yeah, break that down for us.
It's not just about a company being big or having a lot of market share. Yeah. It's about using their power to unfairly manipulate the market.
Oh, okay.
Stifling competition.
Got it.
And ultimately driving up prices for all of us.
So they're saying these big companies are using their muscle to squeeze more money out of consumers.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is the Democrats, they're not just making vague accusations here.
No, they're not.
They've got some pretty specific examples.
Oh, yeah.
Of what they see as this corporate price manipulation.
Yeah, the Daily Tooth article lays out a few of these.
Like that Kroger executive who straight up admitted in federal court.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
To raising egg and milk prices way more than inflation justified.
After COVID.
Yeah.
That was pretty shocking.
Right. It's like they got caught red-handed.
It really does seem that way.
And it makes you wonder, is this just the tip of the iceberg?
Right. Is this happening more than we realize?
Exactly. And it wasn't just that one Kroger executive.
Yeah.
We've seen accusations and even admissions of similar practices from beef producers, poultry potato folks.
It's a pattern.
It is. It's like this whole system is rigged against us.
Well, it certainly raises some serious questions.
It does. And it makes that affordable again promise seem pretty far-fetched.
It does make you wonder how realistic that was.
Yeah, how are we supposed to afford anything if these companies keep playing games with prices?
It's a big problem, and it's one that affects everyone.
Absolutely. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to dig even deeper into this food fight.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really paints a picture of, a system where these big companies are maybe taking advantage when
Yeah.
things are tough.
Yeah, and the Democrats are saying that the Trump administration isn't really doing enough to protect people,
Mm,
from these practices.
right. They're supposed to be the ones looking out for us.
And it's interesting because if you think back to the 2024 election,
Yeah.
Trump was all about draining the swamp,
Oh, absolutely.
standing up for the everyday American.
Forgotten man?
Exactly.
Yep.
So the Democrats are kind of calling him out on that.
Yeah, they're saying, okay, you promised to fight for us, so where's the action?
Right. They're putting their money where their mouth is
Yes.
with this 6-point plan.
Exactly. And it puts the pressure on the administration to respond.
Yeah, they can't just ignore this.
No, they have to either engage with these proposals or explain why they're not doing anything about it.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Definitely.
Speaking of responses, one thing that really stood out to me in the Daily Kos article
Okay.
was this link they're making between mass deportations and rising food prices.
Interesting.
On the surface, it seems like a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. How do those two things connect?
Exactly.
Well, it might seem that way at first.
Okay,
But think about the agricultural industry.
right. Tons of workers out in the field.
Exactly. It's incredibly labor intensive. And, a lot of those workers are undocumented immigrants.
Oh, so if you're deporting those workers,
You're creating a labor shortage.
right, less people to do the work.
And what happens when supply goes down?
Prices go up, basic economics.
Exactly. Fewer workers means higher labor costs,
Uh-huh.
which means higher prices for everything at the grocery store.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah, one policy decision can have these ripple effects throughout the whole economy.
And in this case, it seems to be getting our wallets pretty hard.
Right, where it hurts.
So the Democrats are saying this isn't just an accident,
No, they're saying it's a deliberate choice,
that the focus on immigration enforcement is actually making food more expensive.
which is a pretty big accusation.
Yeah, especially considering Trump's whole campaign was about making food affordable.
Right, the Daily Cuss article even quotes him saying, starting on day one, we will drive down prices and make America affordable again.
Those words are coming back to haunt him.
They definitely are. It's a stark contrast to what's actually happening.
And the Democrats are using that to hold him accountable.
They're saying, you promised us this, but your actions are telling a different story.
And to really illustrate this point,
Okay.
let's talk about eggs.
Everyone's favorite breakfast food.
The Daily Cock article highlights how egg prices have just gone through the roof.
Yeah, they've been crazy high.
Some states are seeing prices as high as $8 a dozen.
Wow, that's insane.
Makes you think twice about that omelet.
It really does.
But it also shows how these complex issues we're talking about,
Yeah.
they have a real impact on people's lives. It's not just about abstract economic theories or political debates.
No, it's about the choices we make every day at the grocery store.
Right. Do we buy the eggs or do we find something cheaper?
Exactly. Or do we cut back somewhere else to afford these rising prices?
These are the questions people are struggling with.
Yeah. And it's clear that this food fight is far from over.
It feels like it's just getting started.
And you know what? It reminds us that even in a wealthy country like the United States, food insecurity is a real issue.
Yeah, we often forget that.
And when prices spike like this, it's the people who are already struggling the most who get hit the hardest.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the political back and forth.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this is about real people.
People trying to feed their families.
Exactly. And it raises some big questions about the role of government and corporations in making sure everyone has access to affordable food.
Right. Should the government step in and regulate prices more?
Or should the market just be allowed to do its thing, even if it means some people get left behind?
These are tough questions.
They are, and they're not just about economics. They're about our values.
Our priorities as a society.
Exactly what kind of world do we want to live in?
And these are conversations that need to happen everywhere.
Yeah, not just in Washington.
In our communities, in our homes.
We all need to be talking about this.
Because we all have a stake in this food fight.
All right, so let's take a minute and recap what we've learned in this deep dive.
Yeah, good idea.
We started with Trump's campaign promise, right? Cheaper food, affordable again.
Right. A big promise a lot of people were really counting on.
Yeah, but so far it seems like the actions haven't really matched the words.
Yeah, we saw that executive order that barely even mentioned food.
Right, and the administration's focus seemed to be elsewhere at first.
Exactly, and that's where the Democrats saw an opportunity.
Yeah, they jumped right in.
They're calling out the lack of action, and they've come prepared with their own plan.
That 6-point plan.
6 concrete steps to try and tackle these rising food costs.
And they're not just talking policy. They're highlighting real examples.
Yeah, of what they see as corporate greed.
Right, like that Kroger executive admitting to raising prices.
More than inflation justified.
And the whole history of price fixing in the egg industry.
They're even bringing in seemingly unrelated policies like deportations.
Yeah, that one was interesting.
Arguing that those labor shortages in agriculture are pushing prices up even more.
It's complicated, right?
It is. It's all connected.
But the Democrats are trying to show how all these threads tie back to the administration's actions.
Or inaction as they see it.
So where does that leave us?
Well, that's the question we want to leave you with.
In this food fight, who's really paying the price?
Is it just the market doing its thing, or are there bigger forces at play?
Think about it. The power of these corporations, the impact of government policies.
Your own experience at the grocery store.
It all feeds into this bigger picture.
So we encourage you to keep digging, keep asking questions, and come to your own conclusions.
Because ultimately, we all have a seat at the table. This isn't just about politics or economics.
That's about the food we eat.
The choices we make.
And the future we're creating.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.